Gwen Preston of Resource Maven. We're here at the Metals Investor Forum in September in Vancouver, and I'm joined by Doug Ramshaw. Doug obviously is the head of Minera Andes, and you guys are busy in your own accord by advancing two projects in Mexico towards production, sort of in a fast-track manner. We can capture that a bit, and then I want to segue over to another company that you're a large shareholder in and to whom you just sold a project. So why don't you start by just capturing sort of the business plan, because it relates to both.
Sure, Gwen. And in many ways, yeah, Prime is following our path, so it gives some context to that. Mm-hmm. So our team specializes in low capital cost builds, heap-leach primarily in Mexico. We are going to be starting construction of that first mine in November. It should come into production next summer at about 30,000 ounces a year at sub 10 million Canadian capex.
Amazing.
And then thereafter, we'll use the cash flow from that to build out the next mine and the next mine. But we did have one asset so that kind of almost paid the price of our focus on our first two mines. We couldn't give it any attention. And so that's why we did the deal with Prime, and they're going to follow the same development path with that. So we're excited as a big shareholder of them, yeah.
Right, so that's the Los Reyes Project, which you guys had acquired from Vista Gold. It had sort of sat ignored in Vista Gold for a long time because they have a massive project that they were busy focusing on. And Los Reyes is quite similar to the ones that you're advancing in that it's sort of a proven ounces, heap leachable, straightforward, low cost to develop. So,
yeah, I mean, and to be perfectly honest, a year from now, we probably wouldn't have assigned that option.
Right.
So it was a perfect timing for Andy and the team there. We really could not focus on it, and I know Prime wanted to have a lead project. It's a great asset.
Right.
Like, it went through all our criteria. When we did the original deal, like, it meets all our criteria. It just couldn't meet with our bandwidth at the time when we're developing two other mines. So as a big shareholder of it, with a technical team and an operating experience in Mexico, I think we can be very supportive to Prime, and as a big shareholder, hopefully we benefit greatly from their success.
And I would say there's a bit of hesitation in the market amongst gold investors around what I would call sort of quick to production stories, because there have been many that didn't work, and fair enough. So what stands out, like when your team went through and selected the three projects, the two that you're advancing and Los Reyes, what are the key things that you needed to check off, like the fatal flaws that you needed to make sure that weren't there, the characteristics that were required? What gives you confidence that these do work and are so low capital?
So much of it comes down to, especially in heap leaches, metallurgy, and obviously the resource has got to be robust, and one or other of those going offside, and it can come down. You can have a pretty quick fall from grace. I mean, in the case of Midway Gold back in the day with Pan, both resource and metallurgy failed, and that thing blew up in a matter of weeks.
Yeah, exactly.
So our team is led by metallurgists. We feel very comfortable on the metallurgy of everything. In truth, heap leach doesn't have to be Rolls-Royced perfectly. There are elegant ways of cutting costs, not corners, and that's what we specialize in, and that's why we are able to reduce a lot of the capital requirements, which mean that you're not necessarily taking on huge amounts of debt, which can also at the wrong time of a market cycle can be crippling. Even if the project itself didn't have a fatal flaw, sometimes the funding package required to get it to a certain point is just poorly timed. Through no fault of anyone, so just the market.
I really like that line. There are elegant ways of cutting costs, not corners. That's. I think you need to hold on to that, or it needs to be sort of the Minera Andes slogan. So Los Reyes is advancing, and the deal. You've mentioned that you're a big shareholder, but the deal gave you how much of Prime?
We own just over 16%.
Right.
So very, very happy shareholders. They raised, it was going to be about 19, and they were so successful with the raise, it ended up at 16, and we're really, really happy shareholders. One of our board members, Bruce Durham, is our representative on the board, and so we're going to have a lot of collaboration, and we view it as a collaboration with them, and if they need some of our assistance on it, we'll happily give that to them as a big shareholder. But I think the team that they built there, they're not going to need much help from us.
Fair enough. And just as a last point, let's talk a bit about permitting. This is Mexico. You guys have just had a lot of success finishing the permitting for the first asset that you're about to start building. You wouldn't be able to build it otherwise. How was that process for you?
Mexico do permitting right. You can't even start the permitting process if you don't have a community agreement in place. You notice a lot of times there are stories about blockaded projects in Peru, for example. It's because the federal government there will hand out the permits, but if you haven't addressed social license, you can run into those troubles. You have to start with a social license in Mexico before you can even begin the process. So even in a year like we've just had with the change of government, our process start to finish was 14 months. So it's a very transparent, clear approach, and Mexico is open for business. Despite what sometimes you read on clickbait headlines on Bloomberg.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming in. Good
My
luck
pleasure.
with the build. I mean, it's exciting to be building starting in November. I will keep up for sure with Minera Andes, and we'll both be following the Prime story.
Wonderful. Thanks, Gwen.